Rev up your engines. Okay, 2 weeks ago, the guy bought this Pontiac Vibe. It's an 06, but it's only got like 87,000 miles on it. Did he get a good deal? Did he get ripped off? Well, you're going to find out more than you'll probably ever want to know about Pontiac Vibes. This is an 06 Pontiac Vibe, but look what shape it's in. There's my wife's 07 Toyota Matrix. And aside from the skin on the outside, they're exactly the same. As we look inside, that's a 1.8 liter Toyota VVTi, variable valve timing, intelligent. Check this out. Check it out. It's exactly the same. Same engine, same hull. Everything's exactly the same. So basically the same car. Now, body parts, you know, some of them are made over here. And people say, oh, well, Pontiac GM, they didn't paint them as good as Toyota. Well, I have to disagree with this car. Look at this. It's even got a sunroof, which mine doesn't have. Look at that paint. It just pops. And yeah, this paint's still good too. This looks a little worse because his is clean and mine's dirty, but hey, the Pontiac looks brand new. It was taken care of. Mind you, you're gonna have one heck of a time finding one like he did. This thing was like given to a church, the little lady drove it. It's been taken care of in garage. So it's really in immaculate shape. But here's one warning about buying one of these vehicles, which is exactly the same as the Matrix warning. You want to get the 16-valve VVTi engine that is 1.8 liters. Check it out, 1.8 liters. You don't want the bigger, faster 2.4 liter engine for two reasons. One, they get worse gas mileage. But more seriously, a lot of them burn oil. They didn't make the piston rings right. Same engine they put in those Camrys, say 2007. You don't want the 2.4 liter engine because these 1.8s run forever. They have no problems whatsoever. I've seen them with 500,000 miles. Every single Matrix I saw with the 2.4 liter 4 burnt oil. These don't. So, you see a 2.4 liter engine, I wouldn't buy it, but if you're a fanatic, do a compression test and stick your finger in the tailpipe. Tailpipe's oily, it's burning oil. Pull out a couple spark plugs. They got burnt carbon from burnt oil, don't buy it. But really, just don't buy the 2.4 liter. There are millions of the 1.8s out there. So, get that. Now, interesting enough, neither my wife's Matrix or this thing was made in Japan. I mean, the engines and everything were, so it didn't really matter, right? But the Matrix was made in Cambridge, Ontario, and this was made in Fremont, California, which, if you know a little history, decades ago was the worst factory practically in the world. They had all kinds of problems. So, GM shut it down. Toyota went together with GM to build these Vibes there, right? That whole thing fell apart for many reasons. And none of them had to do with the car not being good. Toyota and GM, okay? GM's union labor. Toyota isn't. Toyota didn't want to get involved with GM union labor. They didn't like GM's setup. So they just pulled the plug on the whole deal. Now, they still made for 2-3 years the Matrixes in Cambridge, Ontario, but then they stopped making them, which to me makes no sense. And Matrix lovers are like, why did they stop making them? Why? Well, why? Because Toyota wanted to make more money. These are low-end cars. They don't cost that much. Everybody likes little SUVs today. And what did Toyota do a couple years ago? They came back with the Toyota Corolla hatchback. It's really a Toyota Matrix, but they didn't want to look foolish again, so instead of calling it a Toyota Matrix, they called it the Toyota Corolla hatchback. And look at these pictures, you'll see, yes, it's like a modernized version of the Matrix. And realize that originally the Matrixes were called Toyota Corolla Matrixes, and although you can get the sales figures for all the Pontiac Vibes because it's GM, you cannot get the sales figures for the Toyota Matrix in the United States because Toyota combined the sales with Corollas and made it overall Corolla sales. Because after all, these cars are Toyota Corolla platforms, the same engine as the Corolla, the same transmission, the same brakes. It's just a different body plopped on top of a Toyota Corolla frame. You've got pretty much indestructible engines. And yeah, these are older tech. They have 4-speed automatic transmissions. I want 9-speed, 10-speed, blah, 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 blah. Well, he hasn't checked us yet because he just bought it. About the last time I went to Rhode Island, that thing got 37 miles of a gallon going 75 miles an hour. And you might say, well, Scotty, some of the modern cars don't do that. It'll cruise all day at 80. It's got a top speed of like 114 miles an hour. Who drives that fast anyways, you know? No problems whatsoever. You don't need all the horsepower that many modern cars have. You take a modern Corolla, generally you're lucky if you get 37 miles a gallon on one that's 2-3 years old. That thing's 17 years old, and those things are 2-3 years old. Because they went for horsepower, they're a lot faster. My son gets in the Matrix, oh, it's too slow. He's got a Toyota Corolla S, even with a CVT transmission, and it's quicker. But it gets a little bit less gas mileage. Since these things can run forever. I've seen them with 500,000 miles. Who cares that it's got 50, 60 horsepower or less? It goes plenty fast enough. They'll get you where you're going with no problems at all. This is a baby. It's only got like 80,000 miles on it. He was lucky to find one like this. But you can see, alternator, everything on it is practically original equipment except for the battery. As we look inside, notice one thing. This is why you want to buy cloth seats, okay? This vehicle is 18 years old. Even the side isn't worn yet. The back seat looks like it's never been used. Probably not. Little old lady drove it. And as I said, you can say it's got 86,903 miles. AC still freezing cold. And the radio still works okay. It's got a CD player. Now, that's the thing. This was a Pontiac. And Americans being what they are, this actually had a much better radio than the Toyota Matrix. The Toyota Matrix had an AM, FM with a tape deck that was a piece of crap. So the first thing I did was get an Android. I got an Android Pumpkin. It was like 150 bucks. And it works perfectly fine, right? But this, it's already got a decent radio in it. Like I said, it's got the same 4-speed tranny with overdrive. There's the electric overdrive switch. It's off, now it's on. A nice handbrake. The middle's exactly the same. It's practically the same car as my wife's. The dash here is exactly the same. Barely see anything go wrong with these things, but we'll hook up my giant computer and we'll see exactly what shape it's in. While we're looking up stuff, you can see the dash isn't cracked, it isn't sticky. Sunroof. So far there's no codes. And that's all there been in 2006. It takes a while to do all these scans because the computers are much slower in those days. Well, it's only found one code. Probably won't be much, but we'll take a look at it. The radio. Audio output speaker short to ground. Sounds okay to me. Maybe one speaker is not working all that great, but hey, that's the only thing it found wrong. So let's start her up. Go to the powertrain. We shall look at live data. It's not going to give us as much as a normal one, but hey, mass airflow sensor's pretty normal. It's in closed loop like it's supposed to be. And check it out, the total fuel trim average is 0. Sure, the thing's 18 years old, but it's got perfect fuel trim, right? It's not adding or subtracting fuel. That just shows you how well made these things are. But I mean, you do have to take in consideration. For a Toyota, it may be old, but it's only got 86,903 miles on it. And the engine doesn't burn oil, doesn't have any kind of trouble codes. Those whining that say these are too slow, look at this. I mean, you step on the gas, it starts going. Yeah, it makes a little bit of noise, but hey, that's how these engines are. It took him 9 months to find this car. He looked at Facebook Marketplace every day for 9 months, and some woman beat him to the punch on this, but then the woman didn't show up, and the lady who was selling it said, come on over, and he came over with cash, and he's a smart man. He bought this baby. It's actually in better shape than my wife's. I mean, the paint's better, it's got less mileage on it. It's still barely broken in because it's the 1.8 liter engine. Now we're coming to our little drag strip here, and here we go. It's not a race car, no, but look, it's going. It's not a race car, you know. Look, it cruises perfectly fine. It has a nice ride on smooth roads. When you want to pass somebody, look, we'll go passing gear, floor it. See, the speedometer picks up, not super fast, but it got to 60 pretty quick. These on the Matrix, they're just the same car really, have one fault, and that is you hit bumpy roads, you know you're on bumpy roads. They are not smooth riding over bumps. On a highway, now perfectly smooth, but you hit bumps, you're gonna feel it, and there's nothing you can do about it. These are one of the most perfect cars made for their side other than a rough ride. Look at it, there's the speedometer, there's the tachometer, temperature gauge, gas gauge, everything you can see easily, everything you want to know. Toyota cruise control that never breaks. Now you can see this thing was made for handling corners. It's just a fun car to drive. I got the shifts, all right? You can barely feel that or hear it. I mean, you know, it's pushing on 100,000 miles, but that's a Toyota. I've seen these things with 400,000 miles, and they still shifted just like that. They knew what they were doing when they built these cars. So there you have it. Aside from a rough ride when you hit bumps, it's probably the perfectly designed car. So the vibes on this Pontiac Vibe are pretty good. If you can find one in this shape, I don't know, this might be the only one on the planet like that that's for sale. It had such a weird history of being given to a church, auctioned off. Then a guy bought it for his daughter for a graduation from Purdue University, but she didn't like it because it wasn't wireless. It didn't have everything she wanted for her iPhone, you know? So this guy's happy as can be. He's going to retire. He said he's going to put his golf clubs in it and drive it for the next 20, 30 years. But if you listen to one thing I say, listen to this. Make sure it's got the 1.8 liter engine. Do not buy one with the 2.4 liter engine. That was a mistake. This one wasn't. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.